Well, you see Brandon Weeden joining us now, the former Cowboy and NFL quarterback, as we break down the Cowboys side of things.
Home field advantage, how important is that in a matchup like this?
It's big. When we know, when you're in Stillwater, those fans are right there. When you're standing, you're sitting on the bench, I mean, they can reach over and slap you on top of the head. So,
and they will, too, by the way.
They should. So, if you're playing well and you get that stadium going, I mean, it's got to be a tough place to play for these visiting teams.
How do guys react mentally now versus 2 weeks ago?
Well, I think you start with, one, they've had some time to reflect on it. They went out and played really well against TCU, which was probably a confidence boost for those guys, especially in that room. When you lose a player like that, that's a challenge. I mean, those guys you can't really replace, so the whole next up mentality thing, that's more now than ever. And, I've been yelling for Dylan Stoner from the rafters for a long time. I think he adds, his size in the middle of the field. He's a viable target, catches the ball extremely well, got a lot of experience.
All right, Brandon, the Cowboys finished 8-4. They came back and won 4 straight. Let's have you tie a bow on it.
I think when you come into the season, if you say you're going to win 8 games, I think a lot of people would probably be happy. A lot of question marks. The quarterback, the receivers, the defense. I mean, there's a bunch of guys that are young on up front, and there's a lot of question marks coming into the year. So, to win 8 games, lost a couple maybe that they'd like to have back, which that's part of playing collegiate football. But overall, a very good year. I'd say above average. A lot to build on. There's a lot of young pieces on this football team that I think can help them going forward.
How can the off week really benefit Spencer Sanders coming off a tough game like that?
Yeah, I think it's a big self-scout week for him in particular. You go back and you look at the plays that were negative. Obviously, the turnovers are the main concern. But I think you got to look at the good plays too, because there's a lot of good plays mixed in these first 6 games. And I think he's a young player, obviously, so he's going to make some mistakes. But you hope these last 6 games he finds a way to clean those up a little bit.
Now, if his grade isn't as high as he wants it to be, if it's not high enough, what could be the reason? I mean, he led the nation in rushing this year.
Unfortunately, the way the NFL is going right now, they don't put a whole lot of onus on these running backs. They don't want to take them in a high draft pick, first and second round. For whatever reason, they feel like they can kind of plug and play each guy. I don't necessarily agree with it. I think he's a special back. In my opinion, one of the top 2 or 3 backs in this draft class if he were to come out. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays out. I don't know what his draft grade is, but I'd be shocked if he falls anywhere below that 3rd round. There's teams out there that could use a back like him with his skill set, his versatility, size, speed, and everything he has to offer. He's got a chance to be, in my opinion, a really good NFL back.
What have you seen that maybe has changed the last 2 weeks?
Well, I think it starts with he's getting an understanding of his players. His players are getting an understanding of the system, so they're more comfortable. It's kind of a two-way street there. But most importantly, I think this jumps off the tape, and it really shows on Saturdays is their effort. They're fine with the football. They're relentless, and I think you watch college football across the country, there's some pretty bad tackling. And the game is played out in space. On the perimeter, there's a lot of one-on-one tackles we made. And last week or 2 weeks ago against TCU, they've done a pretty good job of tackling. I think it was, in my opinion, one of their better tackling games of the year, maybe along with K-State. But again, just effort. Just they're playing hard. They're fine with the football, and they've really bought into what Coach Knowles and that defensive staff is wanting to do. He's kind of finding his way. He's a talented player. He can run around, make plays, but take a little heat off him. Play clock. Manage the clock. Extend the drives there that way. Run the football. Get a good running back. The running game's solid. But don't put too much pressure on the quarterback when, in turn, now you're holding on the ball. Now the defense is not on the field for 80, 90 plays a game. And that's their recipe. That's what they want to do. Again, they were explosive offense a few years back, but now they're kind of finding their way, and they play really good defense. I've said it on this show before. I'd hate to be a defensive coordinator, especially in the Big 12, but especially going against this Cowboys defense. It's tough. The common theme in college football, especially in the Big 12, is this 2-hole, as they call it. It's cover 2. It's a 3-man front, and that's kind of what everybody's doing. Yeah, it makes it a little tougher to throw the football, but if you have a quarterback that can run around, kind of improvise, if you will, like Spencer's able to do at times, it's tough on those defenses because you're kind of light in the box. As far as your coverages, I think they may change a little bit. I mean, now you have Chuba Hubbard, which is, in my opinion, should be on the short list at the Heisman. He should be in New York City, but teams are going to be so focused on him and stopping the run, especially Kansas. They're giving up 235 a game, so they're going to do something to get an extra guy in the box, maybe some more pressure. But without Tylen, you can't have 2 guys over there doubling them all the time, so you're more susceptible to big plays in the run game. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. Do you add another guy in the box and try to play more one-on-one coverage? I think teams are going to continue to do what they've done against Oklahoma State all year and play that split safety coverage and try to be a bend, don't break type defense.
A little scramble here.
Yeah, everybody talk. I'm not very mobile, people say, but
yeah, it's a pretty good throw for not being mobile.
In high school, that's all I did. I threw the ball on the run, a lot of sprint out, a lot of play action stuff. So I enjoy throwing the football on the run.
Just don't ask me to run the zone read or anything like that.
Full diamond again, and Colton Shelf. Well, you had a lot of receivers, a lot of pretty good receivers.
We had some studs. Yeah, I talk about them all the time. I mean, we were pretty deep. I'd say we're 4 to 6.